Morning. I would like to call the Bruce County Council session to order. And first up, and I'd like to welcome those that are visiting us live stream this morning. First up is roll call. Donna.
Councillor Buckle. Present. Councillor Eady.
Present.
Councillor Eagleson.
Present.
Councillor Ingalls. Present. Councillor Jackson.
Present.
Councillor McKeever. Councillor McKeever. Councillor Smith. Warden Tulin.
Present. At this time, I would ask anybody from council to declare pecuniary interest either now or if it arises down the agenda. Adoption of the February 2nd, 2016 council minutes.
I have a motion moved by Councillor Ingalls, seconded by Councillor Buckle, that the minutes of the February 2nd, 2017 council session be adopted as circulated.
Are there any errors, omissions, or discussions from those minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thank you. Communications have been circulated. Next up, we have delegations. We have vital signs here this morning. Stuart Reed and Cliff Belia. Is that correct? That's correct. Good. Well, the podium is yours.
Good morning, Warden, councillors, and staff. It's a pleasure, in fact, it's a real pleasure to be here this morning on behalf of the Community Foundation Grey Bruce and give you a quick update as to what is happening with and I use the word your because we're part of the organization, and with me today is Stuart Reed, who is the Executive Director. The Community Foundation Grey Bruce mission statement, and I just, are we following here or coming up? Okay. Just a highlight is to encourage endowments with partnerships in the community and for the future generations. We invest in the community and we grant to not-for-profit organizations in the community. I think you will recognize that gentleman in the middle of that picture. That's our Governor General, David Johnston, who was here last year to help celebrate our successes, and that's a member of the folks around him are members of our Board of Directors. Some of the facts that are important to know about the Community Foundation, we have more than 122 funds, and what that means is different people have left money to the organization as a legacy, and that then establishes a fund. We have almost $15 million involved in investments that started in 1994, and as such, we have given out $640,000, as you can see on the screen there, in 2016 to not-for-profit organizations. The comment I want to highlight here very briefly is Grey and Bruce counties, and Bruce County particularly, which we're part of, is a very large area. And so to be successful, we have developed the concept of community funds. And you can see that there's 5 listed there, and with Saugeen Shores, one of them in this area, which we're very proud to be part of. And our goal is to continue, and Kincardine, sorry, the 2 of them. Kincardine, our goal is to increase the number of community funds over time so that every community will have its own fund. That was our granting ceremony last year, and I think everybody here will recognize that building, the Jillian Hall. And we do try to move around the community for our various granting ceremonies. We are certainly involved with deep roots in the community. We look at this from the point of view of broad staff expertise, and we have a very dedicated board of people who have skills and expertise in handling our operation. The finances are handled by Jaroszkowski Fraser in Toronto, who have managed our investments for a number of years. Very personalized, tailored approach. The funds that we invest are certainly in the care and community of this area, and we accept assets in a number of different ways, such as insurance policies and that type of thing, besides just cash endowments. The other piece, just to highlight here, is that we are in fact partnering with professionals to achieve our goals. We have certainly the maximum tax advantage with being involved in the Community Foundation, because every dollar that we invest in the Community Foundation, the equity portion of that dollar stays, of course. That's why we have the $15 million, and the earnings from that fund is then given out as our annual donations to the not-for-profit organizations. The impact of those gifts is hard to measure, but it's certainly very, very significant, and the endowment fund continues to build, and as such, we're proud to be part of the community leadership. Just want to highlight, of those 122 funds, you'll see 8 different categories there. So if you're thinking of somebody, and I'm an ambassador with the Community Foundation, having been a former board member and chair, we grow our organization by people who know people. And in this world today, it's not what you know, it's who you know and how well you know them and they know you. So we're hoping today that you're going to be thinking about, I know somebody who in fact could be interested in leaving a legacy with the Community Foundation. There's one of the 8 different areas that they in fact could leave their funds to. And you see a broad cross-section of opportunities. Obviously, some are more popular than others, but scholarships, bursaries, and awards are one that a lot of people have left money to because they have a special interest in a given particular academic area. So that's just a cross-section of the areas that we, in fact, are investing money in. But this is the one that's really an eye-opener. $3,212,000 has been given out to organizations in Grey and Bruce County, not-for-profit organizations, since we were established. That is significant. Now, obviously, the first year, you can see it wasn't very much, $2,500. This past year, $654,000. And as the funds grow in earnings, and I should comment, our earning average has been in excess of 6.6% each year, given the down years as well, so we've done well with the earnings. Now, that gives you a sense between Grey and Bruce County, and you can look at that from the point of view of the scholarships that went to both areas. The donor advised, that's where people have said, I want my money to go to one of those particular 8 areas, or community grants that we have given out in capital of $418,000. And then you come down to our county here, Bruce County, $119,131 was given out in grants this past year to individual organizations, not-for-profit, as well as the 2 native locations in our area. Quite a significant amount of money. So just to pause then and think about what's happening, the Community Foundation Grey Bruce has in fact been a significant contributor to the well-being of our area. I want to thank Janice and Mitch for the opportunity of coming to their council meetings, and we're hoping to do what we're doing today at all the various council meetings so that councilors are aware of what's happening as an annual presentation. I'll turn it over now to Stuart Reid, the Executive Director, to talk about vital signs. Thank you.
Thank you, Cliff. Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to take you through some of the highlights of one of our big projects last year, which was our very first Vital Signs report. You might know that Vital Signs is a mechanism that's used by community foundations across Canada and around the world in a growing fashion. Last October, during Vital Signs Week, we were one of 32 foundations from across Canada releasing a report. And more than 65 communities in Canada are using Vital Signs to mobilize the power of community knowledge for greater local impact. So Vital Signs, what is Vital Signs? It's a national initiative undertaken by community foundations, combines data review and comparative analysis, and it's a tool for aligning community goal setting, promoting civic engagement, and measuring collective community well-being as well. What does Vital Signs look like? What we do is we take sometimes very complex data and statistics and put it into a very graphic, readable format so that it has a lot of traction. Anyone can pick it up and see a story that's told about our community in Grey and Bruce. Our aim for the report is that it become an agenda-setting tool as well. You'll see as we go through the highlights that a set of priorities emerge for the community to consider in the coming years. And we hope that the report will also assist the Foundation in establishing our own granting priorities. This year coming up, our spring granting, which is now open and closes April 15th, we're really urging our agencies to look at the Vital Signs report and explain to us in their application the way that they see their project dovetailing with some of the statistics or issues that are emerging in our Vital Signs report. I must acknowledge gratefully the support of the Eva Leffler Donor Advised Fund, who was supportive of the research and the process of supporting Vital Signs. We also had support from the Ontario Trillium Foundation. The effort was also a collective one that engaged professionals from a number of not-for-profit and health sector agencies across the region, including United Way Bruce Grey, the Grey Bruce Health Unit, Nikanagana Counseling and Learning Center, the Four-County Labour Market Planning Board, Bruce Grey Poverty Task Force, and several other volunteer community members who joined an advisory council that shepherded through the whole report process. And information from our report came from a number of different sources. We sent out a survey across Bruce Grey that was responded to by 500 residents. We also used data from Statistics Canada. The Community Foundations of Canada, the umbrella organization, also provided a statistical community profile, which was sort of bedrock for our data. And there were other reports, of course, identified by members of our advisory council that helped us pull together the report. In terms of the way it's structured, we open up the report with an introduction to a profile of the people that responded to the survey, and then we look at the Grey Bruce as if it were a village of 100 people. Then there are sections that follow on a number of vitality indicators, including health and wellness, arts and culture, education and lifelong learning, living standards, the environment, and community connectedness. So I'll just show you a couple of the highlights from pages. So this one looks at the number of survey respondents. As a highlight, you can see here that 56% of the people that responded to our survey have lived in Bruce Grey for more than 20 years. So it really paints a picture of a place where people are really invested in where they live and are longtime residents. The next section of the report looked at, as I mentioned, Bruce Grey as a village of 100, so breaking those statistics down to a very readable, engaging format. One area of note, only 8 people out of those 100 would have immigrated here from somewhere else. And so that is in great contrast to the number for Ontario at 29 people. And although Bruce Grey is really making great efforts to be a welcoming community, also in this report we hear about 17 Syrian refugee families settled here in the last number of years. We still have a way to go in terms of change if we are to reflect the diversity that we see in the rest of Ontario. The next section on health and wellness includes sections on physical and mental health of our residents. One of the highlights here, we had some troubling statistics about incidents of self-reported obesity, heavy incidents of smoking, heavy drinking among respondents. But overall, 57% of the respondents self-reported good or excellent general health, which is comparable to provincial and national standards. The arts and culture section paints a picture of a very robust, dynamic arts and culture sector that really has a significant economic impact here in Bruce Grey and, of course, a very positive influence on our quality of life. Of particular note, we were very proud of this statistic that 66 grants from the Community Foundation Grey Bruce totaling over $111,000 contributed to arts and culture in our region. And you can see that that's very comparable to the provincial and the national granting councils, and those numbers reside just above it. Education and lifelong learning really looked at access to higher education. and issues emerging. 39% of Grey Bruce residents aged 25 to 64 have completed some sort of apprenticeship or trade certificate. So that is much higher than the Ontario number, and it really points to a need in Grey Bruce for us to cater to a very diverse set of education pathways. And the Foundation has addressed that with its Smart and Caring initiative, adding $1 million in endowed education funds to really support those scholarships and awards and bursaries, not just for university and college education, but for students from our region that are interested in the alternative pathways encompassing apprenticeship and trade certificates. Under living standards, where we looked at the distribution of wealth and economic security, including costs of living, housing and homelessness, food security, employment in the economy, and regional transportation, there were a number of really compelling statistics emerged. You may have heard our United Way Bruce Grey CEO Francesca Dobbin on CBC this morning talking about the cost of utility in Ontario, and our report supports her advocacy with a number of points. $1 million here of support was provided by local service agencies to help people stay connected to their utilities in Grey Bruce. And just below that, 1,300 people were assisted by the United Way's Utility Assistance Program. So that sort of top-of-mind news story really emerges as a fact here in our report. Under the environment, of course, Grey Bruce's beautiful natural resources include national and provincial parks and thousands of kilometers of beaches and robust winter weather, of course, too. It was interesting to note that 3 of our municipalities, Meaford, Owen Sound, and West Grey, were in the top 10 for percentage of waste diversion in Ontario, which is a very reassuring fact. And under community connection, we look at citizen engagement, our sense of belonging, inclusion, leadership, and levels of volunteerism. This section, in a very reassuring way, also showed that 73% of Grey Bruce residents feel a somewhat strong sense of community belonging. So we really have a community where people are engaged and really committed to the place they live, and that's certainly a positive sign for the future. Our report is available online. I've brought some copies that I can leave on the podium here today for you to pick up. It is available at our website, communityfoundationgraybruce.com. Next steps include convening some further discussion about the report in our community. We're hoping to launch Vital Conversations, which will be town hall meetings that will give people an opportunity to talk about the findings and vital signs and convene discussion around those points. So I'll look forward to talking to you again in the future about some of those activities as well. But if you have any questions, I'm very happy to answer.
Thank you, Cliff and Stuart. Any questions or comments from council? Mike?
Thanks, Mr. Warden. So that's fabulous information. I know you went to a lot of effort to put that together. Each month before the board meeting of the Grey Bruce Health Unit, they have called a Healthy Communities Task Force that works, and they do. I'm just wondering if you participate in that.
We do, yes.
You do, okay. Because
and many of the members that I mentioned on our advisory committee are also members of that task force. And yes, it's a wonderful, nimble community in Grey Bruce where all those leaders can come together on a monthly basis and really creates effective partnerships and alliances that build towards collective impact. Very valuable forum.
Thanks.
Anne?
Yes, we've really appreciated your fund as well, and we're just starting to build it up. So I just want to make sure I understand the fund right. So the money that goes in from the municipality of Kincardine area is the money we draw on, or are there, it seems to me there was an environmental one we drew on as well that wasn't part of our fund. So you have the ability to draw from other grants that are in the general, money left, or is it just restricted to your community?
Well, the investments that have been made by individuals and around specific issues are, the capital is never touched. The interest is expended. Sometimes projects that come to us benefit from a number of different funds. If the request is of a certain level, certain funds are only paying out at a certain level, so there may be a grouping, a collective support for a particular project. So that varies. I'm not sure if that answers your question or not. Every spring and fall, we have 2 deadlines for community grants. We ask for applications from the community, and then our grant review team looks at the pool of money that's available and then makes matching arrangements to support all those different projects. We've also initiated a capital grant program that runs in the summer months, so we invite expressions of interest from the community on June the 1st, and then those are reviewed over the summer months, and we support a number of capital projects, $30,000 last year, and that's given out in October as well. So we're really quite as Cliff mentioned, $654,000 last year. We're a very important economic our charities and not-for-profits are engaged in.
Thank you. I appreciate the wide range of grants that you give out for different organizations. Thank you.
Other comments or questions? Well, on behalf of Bruce County Council and our residents, I want to thank you and the foundation for all you do in our communities. It's much appreciated, and if you can take those thanks back to the board, I would appreciate it, and keep up the good work in our communities.
Thank you for your kind attention this morning.
Okay, county officer reports. See none. Inquiries and announcements this morning. Paul.
Just would like to I don't know if it's an announcement or as much as a thank you. On Tuesday evening, the Blue Water Board held, I guess, the last round of presentations around the Chesley and the Paisley School issue. And I just want to thank the County of Bruce for, they sent a young lady up there to be a delegation and to represent the county and to talk on it, and did an absolute fantastic job. Thank you, Kelly, and thank you, the County of Bruce, for participating in this process.
Thank you, Paul. Anyone else? Approval of committee minutes.
I have a motion moved by Councillor Buckle and seconded by Councillor Ingalls that the minutes of the following committees be approved. February 2nd, 2017, Executive Committee, Corporate Services Committee, Homes Committee, Museum Committee, Paramedic Services Committee, Social Services and Housing Committee. February 16th, 2017, Executive Committee, Highways Committee, and Planning and Development.
Hearing none, all those in favor, opposed if any, that is carried. Thank you. Are there any notice of motions this morning? See none. Any unfinished business? Bylaws.
I have a motion moved by Councillor McKeever and seconded by Councillor Buckle that the following bylaws be adopted. 2017-018, a bylaw to adopt estimates, tax ratios, and tax rates for the year 2017. 2017-019, a bylaw to rescind bylaw number 2017-006, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a municipal contribution agreement 2016 SIF Social Housing Improvement Program component between the Corporation of the County of Bruce and Golden Dawn. Bylaw number 2017-020 is a bylaw to establish fees and charges for the Corporation of the County of Bruce. Bylaw number 2017-021 is a bylaw to authorize the execution of an Ontario Transfer Payment Agreement between Her Majesty the Queen and Right of Ontario, as represented by the Minister of Education and the Corporation of the County of Bruce for the Journey Together Early Years Capacity Funding Allocation. Bylaw number 2017-022 is a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the County of Bruce at its meeting held the 2nd day of March 2017.
Are there any discussions on any of those bylaws? Hearing none, all those in favor, opposed if any, that is carried. Thank you. Adjournment.
I have a motion moved by Councillor Buckle and seconded by Councillor McKeever that we adjourn to meet again Thursday, April 6, 2017 at 9:30 a.m.
All those in favor? That is carried.